Hello everyone, this is Donna from Seek and Transcend, and this is your health and wellness channel. I'll briefly tell you a little bit about myself because I do have an intro video and a website that you can go to if you want to know more. And I have a lot of information I want to give you today, so I want to get into it. But I wanted you to know that I do have some background in what I'm going to be talking about. So building a little credibility here, I just want you to know that I have been in the fitness and nutrition business for 25 plus years. And I own a company called Donna's Delights, which I'll tell you how I got there and what that's about. And that will tie in to what the subject matter is today. And then I have also been teaching fitness and a personal trainer for just as long. So I have been working in the health and wellness industry for quite a while now. And the past videos that I have shot for you have been either more of the mental or the spiritual nature. So today I thought we would address the body. And the body is the host, if you will, to our soul. And it's really, really, really important that we try to understand it as best we can and try to make it a very peaceful and hospitable environment for our soul. And we do that by taking care of it and nourishing it. And so today I would like to talk about nutrition. And I want to talk to you about nutrition in regards to it being fuel for your body and my take on it, my philosophy on it, and hopefully educate you and inspire you to make better choices or different choices. And just give you a little brief rundown on some different lifestyle choices that people make in regards to food and just a synopsis of some different lifestyle choices that you can make. So for instance, I would like to talk to you about your morning routine and breakfast. Now, you know, breakfast is supposed to be the most important meal of the day. And I, for one, am not a big breakfast eater, and I know a lot of people are not. And so I got to thinking, how can I get breakfast in when my body is just not ready to take on food? And I do like my coffee, but it's not really good for your body to be walking around with just coffee in it first part of the day. It's just really not. It's really hard on your system, and there's nothing in your body. So I thought I need some brain food for sure, first thing in the morning. And I need something that's going to give me some sustained energy, because once I get going, chances are it's going to be lunch before I stop. So I came up with this concoction that I have here, and it is coffee, of course. And then I put in an almond creamer because I'm completely dairy-free. And then I add cacao, about a tablespoon of that, and a big heaping scoop of plant-based chocolate protein. I use the Sun Warrior protein. It's plant-based. I like it. It's really good. And then I put in the high-grade MCT oils, and I use 2 tablespoons of that. Now, some people use ghee butter as well. Probably more of your keto people would do that, but I don't care for the flavor, and that's the only reason why I don't use it. But it's really good for you because it's high fat. So let me explain to you what this does. I have the MCT oils because that's brain fuel. That's a great way to get some sustained energy. It's high-grade coconut oil, so it's really good for you, and it's great for brain fuel. Then I have my plant-based protein in it so that I have protein in the morning. The cocoa is an antioxidant, and it has a lot of nutrients in it. So throw in some nutrient-dense ingredients. And then I have my coffee because I love coffee. And and then I have my almond creamer, which makes it creamier. So this is how I start my day. And then I also throw in a cinnamon stick because cinnamon is really good for the blood and it's great for blood sugar. So that's how I start my day. How do you start your day? So when you begin your day mindfully and think, what do I need to encourage my body along to give me the energy and the wherewithal to do all the things that my mind and my spirit want to do. And we just try to get everybody on board, like the perfect storm, so that we can get not only through our day, but be really, really successful in our day and feel like we were able to do the things that we wanted to do or needed to do, and we don't feel completely trashed and depleted at the end of the day. So think about your breakfast. Think about how you're starting your day. Set yourself up for success. So let's move on into the nutrition aspect. Now, I've been working with clients for a long time, and nutrition is a huge challenge, if you will, in regards to them meeting their goals. They either are not eating enough, or they're eating in surplus, or they're just eating the wrong things. And so I learned really quickly that had to be one of the priorities in helping my clients reach their goals. And that was finding out which they were doing and seeing if we could correct that. But when we did that, we did it in baby steps. I just didn't expect them to change their lifestyle overnight. It just was not going to happen. And so I say, okay, just for this week, let's take out that one thing that you know is sabotaging your efforts and see how you do. And that one thing equals, let's say, 500 calories a day. Let's say it's, sorry, Starbucks, but let's say it's one of those matcha latte, whatever drinks that you get at Starbucks. It's 500 calories. And they are, for the most part, pretty high in calorie, unless you get the skinny mocha. But anyways, take out the 500 calories a day. Let's say you did that 3 days a week. That was your treat. Let's take that out. Let's take that out, and that's 1,500 calories a week. Now, it takes a 3,000 calorie deficit to lose a pound. So if you did that for a month, you just lost a pound. Just making that little simple change. So that's just an example. So as you're going through your day, think about, this is what we call mindful eating. Think about, do I really need to add the mayonnaise to the sandwich? Do I really need to even have a sandwich? Can I just take out the bread and have a salad instead? And just those tiny little shifts will make a huge difference. They add up. Now, I want to talk about how I came about to Donna's Delights, my eating journey, and how I gained the information that I have along the way. And I share that with my clients, and I share that with you. So I've always been a healthy eater, and I don't know where I got it, because I guarantee you none of my family members were healthy, and I didn't learn it from them. I've always just gravitated towards eating healthy, even when I really didn't have the information. I just cut, common sense, what was better for me than another. And my kids have some pretty funny stories that they like to share about me in regards to that. Some of the tricks I used to play on them and some of the food preparation techniques I used. But in any case, I've always been that way. And I just naturally gravitated towards the information around that. And I just started absorbing it. And this was long before I was a fitness consultant. And I was probably 5 years into my career as a fitness consultant when I started having some symptoms. The symptoms were I wasn't sleeping well, wide awake, and my joints hurt, and stomach issues, just fatigued. So I went to an alternative healthcare practitioner and he said, I think you have a gluten intolerance and I'd like you to take gluten out. And if you can, take dairy out as well, because typically if you're gluten intolerant, you're dairy intolerant. I was like, holy smokes, what do I eat? So I went home and I looked in my cupboard and I looked in my refrigerator and I was like, what am I going to eat now? I wasn't sure because there's gluten in everything, it seems like. And, dairy is a big part of our diet. So I just gravitated toward lean meats and veggies. And within 2 weeks, the symptoms started to subside. Within 8 weeks, I was sleeping, I didn't hurt, I started leaning up. And to this day, I pretty much follow that plan because it seems to work for me. And we will talk a little bit more about gluten down the road. Then I want to say probably, I don't know, another 5 years down the road, here I am pregnant with my third child, and I developed gestational diabetes. And fortunately, that goes away once your baby is born, but it basically means that your body cannot supply you and the child with the insulin that is required. So I was told that I needed to control it with diet or I would have to have insulin injections. So I controlled it with diet, needless to say, and I learned how to eat like a diabetic. And this is all really good information to have. And I was very lean, I had tons of energy, I felt great. However, there was something that was missing from my diet. And that was the things that I like to eat, which are baked goods. I like to have a pancake and a waffle now and then. And I like to have a cookie or a muffin now and then. And one of my favorite breakfasts is to have my special coffee with some sort of pastry. And of course, I haven't allowed myself to do that very often. So with the information that I had, I got into the kitchen. And mind you, because I'm the main chef in the house, my kids were also gluten-free and eating like diabetics. And I thought, I need to really come up with some alternatives for us that are not going to sabotage my health and well-being, and it's not good for them either. So I got into the kitchen and I started creating gluten-free, protein-infused baked goods. And obviously I needed it to be gluten-free so that I didn't have the inflammation. And then I also needed it to be protein infused. And the reason why I wanted it protein infused was because it helps control the sugar response in the body. Now, this is good for everyone, but especially for diabetics or people that are insulin resistant. We want to control the sugar response in the body, either with a good fat, MCT oils, or protein. Because protein and fat are harder to digest. It's a slower process, which slows everything down in regards to how quickly your body dumps sugar into the bloodstream. And so that was really important for me at the time, and I feel it still is. And so this is how Donna's Delights came about. I'm the kind of person, if you tell me that I can't have something because it's just not good for me, and I believe you because of the way my body's feeling, I don't want to stick that stuff in my system. It's toxic and I don't want to be toxic. At the same time, I want to still have fun. I want to still enjoy life. Life's too short not to have a cookie now and then. So I find a way around it. I just educate myself over, under, and around, and I figure it out. So this is what I did. And this is how Donna's Delights came about. So I'm creating these muffins and waffles and pancakes, and I'm creating them and I'm sharing them, because typically when you make a batch, you make a big batch, and I didn't want all that stuff sitting around for me and my family, so we would all get a little treat, and then I just give the rest of the stuff away. My friends and clients that I gave this stuff to just loved them and said, they suggested you should start selling this. You should make this a business. This stuff is amazing. The gluten-free products that are out there for the most part, are not very tasty. And so I started Donna's Delights, and I sell locally and I ship out, and it's doing quite well. So this is one of those things that where it may seem like it's a negative, and you turn it into a positive. So that's my story on Donna's Delights. Now I want to share with you some basic nutrition lifestyles that are out there that you might have heard about but don't know a lot about, or it's all very confusing. What's the difference between paleo and keto, so on and so forth. So I kind of wanted to just give you a little brief synopsis on each one of them and talk a little bit more about the gluten and give you a little information about what that is. So let's start with the paleo. So the paleo diet is basically like the hunters and gatherers, our ancestors used to eat. The premise behind that is that they didn't have the conditions that we have now in modern human health. And so they feel like if you eat unprocessed meats and veggies and plant-based oils, you're good to go. And that's the paleo diet. The keto diet is where you strip as much sugar out of your lifestyle that you can, and you basically have lean meats, veggies, and high fat. They're into the high fat, so they really go for the MCT oils. And so like their superfoods would be avocado, although avocado is a fruit and they don't eat fruit, but avocado is a high fat fruit. So avocado oil, olive oil, you get the idea of it. And my daughter decided to go on the keto plan, and she went through a medical facility. So she was medically observed and with a doctor. And, you know, they reduced her calorie intake. She wanted to lose some weight, a substantial amount of weight. So they put her on the keto plan, and the goal was to put her into ketosis. Now, what that means is basically, long and short of it, is if you strip the sugar, the body has to utilize fat for fuel. It doesn't have glucose storage. You're taking all the storage of glucose out, and now the body has to pull from fat. And typically people that are pretty overweight or have some weight to lose have fatty livers, and so this benefits the liver as well. The liver is not as clogged up, using fat for fuel and stripping the sugars. So that's your keto plan, and my daughter has been very successful at it, and so much so that my son-in-law jumped on board, and he's been very successful at it. So it's really worked for them. I think it's a great plan for people that have a substantial amount of weight to lose. And you still can eat a lot of good foods. And there's a lot of options now out there that they didn't have back when I went gluten-free 20 plus years ago. They didn't have those options. And so, you know, my daughter was being so disciplined and doing so well on it that I thought, you know, this girl needs a treat. So I got into the kitchen again, and I created keto cookies for her and her husband, and they loved them. So, you know, I just put together these little cookies. I created a funfetti without the fetty, and I created a double chocolate that they just absolutely love. They have the cacao in it. It's actually a really healthy cookie, and it's got protein in it and everything. So they really, really love that. So they gave them a treat. Now let's talk about gluten a little bit. Gluten is a binding protein that is found in your wheat products. It has zero nutritional value. And what it does for people that are sensitive to it is it causes inflammation in the stomach lining. And what it can do is it can slow down or stop the absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream, which can cause anemia and all sorts of health issues. Now, if you have a sensitivity to gluten, which is what I have, I'm not celiac, you have inflammation in the body. You feel like you have the flu if you eat gluten. Your joints hurt. You just feel achy. You don't feel great. You feel fatigued. You don't sleep well. Bloating, bowel issues, a whole slew of things. It's just not worth it. And this is why I don't eat it. So typically, if you're gluten intolerant, you're dairy intolerant. And the reason why is that your stomach lining is all inflamed and unhappy and angry. And so you have to get that to calm down, and it takes quite a while to heal that stomach lining. And I'm telling you that the gut is your hard drive. If you've got issues of brain fog or fatigue or sleep issues, or pretty much 95% of your health issues are going to be coming from the stomach. This is your hard drive. So I would address your tummy first. Now, fast forward, I am put on a Candida diet by an alternative healthcare practitioner. Now, the Candida diet is to really get your gut in great shape, get it healthy. People that have Candida issues will have a lot of, well, for females, yeast issues, and just a lot of unhappy stomach issues, and therefore could have chronic disease from that. So I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. And I did some genetic testing. I did some blood work, 68 markers of blood work to be exact. And what we determined was that one of the things that we determined is that I needed to go on the Candida diet and get my stomach in better shape, even with the gluten-free and all that. So I did that. And that was 1 week of just low starch veggies and bone broth and my detox. I have a detox drink that I do that I can tell you about. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have so much information to give you, and I can't do it all today. But that made a huge difference in how I felt. And then I started adding olives the next week and some nuts, and I could have lean meats, really clean lean meats, still staying with the low starch veggies. And that's basically how I try to eat for the most part. And it really, really helps. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the diabetic diet. Diabetes, obviously, as you know, is another chronic disease. And I have it runs in my family, but they say it's not genetic. Although I had gestational diabetes, so, I've got to warily watch it. So that's basically where your body is not managing sugar. So it can lead to basically some of the same symptoms that the gluten issues can, and that is that your body's not able to absorb nutrients. It can lead to anemia. Obviously, if you let it go, it can lead to type 2 diabetes, which can cause all kinds of health issues, which can affect the eyes, neuropathy, so on and so forth. What you want to do is avoid sugar as much as you can. Get your sugar from fruit only. If you have a treat, have a treat that doesn't sabotage. So you could do a keto treat, or you could do a treat like I have, which is gluten-free. I use as little sugar as I can in it just to give it some flavor, but not to completely do us in, and a little protein in there to slow that down. So you're just managing it. You're still having a treat, but you're managing the blood sugar. I know this is a ton of information, and I have so much more to give, but I don't want to keep prattling on about this. What I'd like is, if you have anything you want me to talk about, message me. You can go on my seekandtranscend.com website and contact me. Feel free to throw out your comments on what you'd like to hear more of, because there's just so much more to say. And be mindful about what you're putting in your body. Try not to just digest food just to get on to the next thing. When making decisions about what you're going to eat, realize that this body is housing your soul. And if you have, or if your soul has a lot to express, it's going to need some help along the way, and your body is what's going to be there to help it. And who doesn't want quality of life and longevity with quality of life? And you are totally in control of that in regards to your diet. That's what's going to help you. So if you're having any symptoms that I described or talked about, see a doctor, Western medicine doctor, and alternative healthcare practitioner. I see both. I have them work together to help me stay on track. And what that's going to do is that's going to help manage your well-being so that you can do all the amazing things that you want to do out there in the world. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have an amazing week. Eat well. Take care of you.